Welcome to Dear Alice, a lifestyle approach to interior design.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dear Alice. Today we have a really fun guest for Suzanne and I know a lot of you design enthusiasts are going to freak out too. We've got Laura Kirar on, and we'll give you an intro for her in just a second. But first, we have a quick word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. Have you guys ever felt their products?
It's ridiculous.
I have to say it's life-changing. I am embarrassed to say I am not a sweatshirt wearer. And this was my first adult sweatshirt I've ever bought.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, it is, I mean, you guys can just read all of the thousands of 5-star reviews that they get, but it's really beautiful, buttery fabric. And it's got a pretty drape to it. It's like really slinky. I think it dresses up nice. Like you can wear it with jeans out with friends.
It's super flattering.
Yeah,
too.
it is.
It doesn't make you feel puffy and chubby.
Yeah, because it kind of drapes towards your figure. And I don't know. I have a pair in black. I honestly love a few more pair in a few more colors. It's my favorite sweatshirt by far. I've bought other sweatshirts since then, and it's the one that I go to every time. So for a limited time, you guys can save 35% on Cozy Earth loungewear if you go to cozyearth.com/Dear Alice and enter our special promo code Dear Alice at the checkout to save 35% now. That's cozyearth.com/Dear Alice. Be sure to enter Dear Alice at the checkout for 35% off. All right, let's get into Laura.
Hey, we're so excited that you're here, Laura, with us. And I want to tell you a little bit about her. Laura Kirar is the founder and creative director at Laura Kirar Design, Ltd. She's an internationally renowned interior and product designer, as well as a sculptor, a design industry connector, and a creative experience producer. I love that about her. She's in every single highly published shelter magazine that we love. She's fun. She's just an artist. Mm-hmm. We got to hang out with her at market this last fall of 2021. And you just get lost in the conversation because she just has so many great stories and is just a truly inspired individual. And we're just so excited that she's here.
Yes. And the most beautiful language. I love to hear you talk, Laura. Mm-hmm. And so we just knew right away after listening to you that our guests would love to hear you and the way that you're describing the work that you're doing and the experiences that you have. So anyway, thank you for coming. We're happy to have you.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. I know we've been planning this for a while, and I've really been looking forward to it. And it was so fantastic to meet you last fall at my McGuire launch, and we hit it off. So it's been great to anticipate this. Good to see you. Good to hear you. And good to follow you, too. I've really enjoyed knowing you and listening to your podcast along the way. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. That's so sweet. I love one of the ways that you describe your latest launch. I believe you described it as more of a relaxed luxury, and you designed it with the ideal client in mind and the hypothetical client in mind. And we were going to ask you, what is your ideal client?
Well, I think my ideal client is someone who is ready to learn, ready to explore, ready kind of to have an open mind. I like to push boundaries with my clients. I like to maybe teach them about an architectural style or furniture history, or introduce them to a new material. And maybe, shake it up a little bit, like get them out of their comfort zone. I'm influenced by so many different things from my travels, my work, cultures around the world. And sometimes I just feel like I want to share that access, and the best client is somebody who's ready to take that ride with me.
Yeah, I love that. Sue, tell them a little bit about Laura's history and some of the cool places she's worked.
I know. I think one thing that's so interesting is I was reading about just your background, Laura, is you graduated from the Art Institute of Chicago, which is where you're originally from. You then worked for Holly Hunt in Chicago. You then went to New York to work for Ralph Lauren, and then you founded True Design in 1999. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you are.
Anyway, so I feel like you're rooted in all this like really sharp education and design and studies, and then in learning about your most recent travels and kind of where you occupy. Right now, you're in San Miguel. You just moved to a new place that she gave us a peek of in this beautiful hacienda. And anyway, you can really tell that just like with this relaxed luxury and this kind of experience design, right? How you can blend just like all this classical architecture with all of these really interesting life moments from your travels.
Yeah.
Which I think is so lovely.
Yeah. And traveling, I think it does expand one's mind. Maybe a cliche thing to say, but I would highly recommend as people get older in life and maybe more evolved in their careers to take some time if they can and try another culture, try being challenged by another language. It's a lot, but I think has made me really, really grow as an artist, really made me grow as a designer. And it's so interesting to be influenced by the light, the nature, the architecture, all of these things around you that are so different. I spent 20 years living and working happily in New York City. And now I have a completely different experience, and it's radically changed the way I design my color sense of proportion. And so it's been an exciting evolution, and I would highly recommend it to anybody to try out.
I love it. You're, Kara, I feel like you're known really well for a lot of the product design that you do. I feel like you've even done, I feel like I might be living with one of your faucets. Didn't you do a line for Callista?
Yeah.
You still have that you do?
I do. Yeah. Actually, I have two collections. Callista was really one of my first major product licenses, and I might get this date wrong, but I want to say it's going back to 2005. And that was the Veer Steel collection, and that was really based on this very this Bauhaus kind of look, which was super new in the U.S. I think if anyone wanted that, they were kind of looking to European design, and then again, I'm so bad with dates, but I think we're talking about like maybe 2015, 2016. We launched the second collection called Paletta, and that might be the one you have. It's sort of more recent and some really great updated contemporary finishes. And so I love designing for the bath. I love designing for Callista. It's been a really, really great partnership, and I'm so glad to know that you like it too.
Love it. I think I've loved you long before I ever met you. So it's just
that is so sweet.
Yeah.
I think like back in the early days of Alison, you picked up one of her lamps, like with the lotus base. And the gold. It had that little cant with the gold shape.
Arteriors.
That's through Arteriors. And that was like one of the first like products I saw from you, and we were just enamored with it, and you took it home. And it's in your powder bath now.
Yes. Your lamp
next
is
to
in
your
my
Callista.
Yeah, it's got the slightly angled stem of the floor lamp. Yeah. It's all brass. It sits in my powder bath right next to my sink. And I was just like, why not bring a floor lamp into the powder bath?
Why not?
Especially that one. Yeah, it's so great. And then your faucet is in that bathroom as well. So anyway, huge fan. So you do Kohler or Callista rather. You have Baker, McGuire, and Ann Sachs tile.
Some past things with Ann Sachs, and some Arteriors and Samuel & Sons Possementary trimmings.
So fun.
That's a newer, more recent collection. Many.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yes. So you
I
really
am. I'm a busy girl.
Your world enveloped with Laura Kirar, and whether or not you knew it was her, you'll know now that you've heard her and that you're aware of her. Okay. So you talked a little bit about your boutique guest house in Mexico. What made you decide to do something like this? It's so colorful and unlike anything we've ever seen, and the collaboration with the beautiful minds. And will you just talk about it? We're so curious.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking about it. It's actually why I'm here in San Miguel. So I split my time now between San Miguel and Merida in the Yucatan. So my hacienda is in Merida, and Maison Hidalgo is my guest house boutique in San Miguel de Allende. And it really, I don't know how else to describe it except for it was kismet, fate, all these things. I think so many great things in my life I can put in that bucket, if you will. And yeah, I fell in love with a house. I think this is what we do, whether it's for ourselves or our clients, right? And the same is true of Maison Hidalgo. I saw the house with some friends, some other equally talented women who said, this is a beautiful house. And I said, yeah, this has got great bones. Let's do something here. And I think in that moment, I didn't know what it would be, but very quickly saw it as a great way to combine all the things that I love to do, which is entertain, create spaces, really create experiences that touch the senses. And so we created the Laura Kirar shop, and that is full of all these beautiful artisan collaborative products that I'm making here in Mexico, as well as things that I've curated with young emerging Mexican designers and artists. And then we have 3 guest rooms. So it's a tiny little place, but it's really, really special. And each room has its own personality. In fact, they're named Chana, Juana, y su hermana. So it's kind of a little catchy Mexican phrase that means like, if it's not this thing, it's that thing. If it's not that thing, it's another. So it's either Chana or Juana, or it's her sister, su hermana. But each room has such a distinct personality, and we've had people come and stay and then return and insist that they have the same room, or return and say, I want to try the other one out, So we've really got just such a fun thing going. And it is colorful and playful and I think really unique and kind of different from any of the other things I've done in my career.
Amazing. We'll put the link in our show notes so everybody can check it out. But it's just visually like nothing you've ever experienced. And for sure, as design enthusiasts, like where we would want to stay, to be enveloped fully in that experience. It's so incredible.
Well, I hope you will.
Yes,
I hope you will sometime.
Bucket list right now.
Yeah, you need probably 20 rooms. I'm sure everybody's just fighting over it every night. So yeah.
I know. I love that on your website. Like everyone should go look that up. We'll put it in our notes, but pour over the pictures and read. Just the words are so beautiful. I love that you said blurring the lines between environment and experience, because the 4 women that's kind of rooted in, I think obviously you're the designer, a silversmith, a clothier, a perfumer. So every single sense is hit in this like beautiful story.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been important to us. And I important to me, I think, as I am the leader of this project. And when kind of thinking about building a brand, I think I didn't know we were doing that in the beginning, but it just sort of took over that way. Yeah. It's something I think I really learned from that time working at Ralph Lauren, somebody who really taught me about thinking about lifestyle. And I think that's what I really wanted to create here. Even though it's a tiny property, it has really big potential and really big personality. And you can really feel that throughout the imagery, the photography. We had an amazing copywriter who wrote all of those beautiful words.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But all of us worked together as a team. So it really was a labor of love. And it really does have this presence. So I really do hope that you come.
I'll bet you woke up energized every morning that you were working on that project. And I'll bet you dreamt of it as well when you slept. It's just so inspired when you look at it. You can just feel, you can feel that. And I think we've been involved in those projects before where it's just in your whole body, and that's, you can just see it in that space. That was one of those really just thoughtful, super creative, beautiful experiences, I'm sure, in your lifetime.
Yeah, it has been. It really has been. And we so wisely opened 6 months before COVID. And had to close. So we were a little nervous, what will happen now. But it's been so interesting. We have people coming to see us from all over the world. And I really do think we have social media to thank for that. Those beautiful images shot by Pepe Molina, our photographer, really just got the message out, and people are they're excited by it.
That's so cool. How cool as an artist for yourself to be able to work with people in a different country. And then, of course, you work with people in our country, and I'm sure sourcing all over the world, obviously in other countries as well. We were curious to know about your process of working with somebody in Mexico versus when you're working, since you split time between New York and Mexico, versus what is your process like when you're in New York? Or is it the same?
I think I think internally in the studio it's the same. When I decided to work on Maison, between that and the Hacienda and all the other projects I had going on, it made sense to create a studio here. And so our process really is, I think, hasn't changed. I think we have a different sense of time maybe than we had working in New York, but ultimately the outcome is still very, very good. I think we're working more with smaller workshops and artisans here more so than we were in New York City. But we've always worked with fabricators, artisans all over the world. So that really hasn't changed. And we still have clients all over the world and in the US, even though we're based in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. So cool. I love that.
Speaking of traveling, where is your favorite place to travel? I mean, obviously you're anchored in Mexico and New York, but yeah.
Well, the cheeky answer to that is where I haven't been. That's my favorite place to travel. And the second answer is, I think I'm dying to get back to Sicily. That was a really profound trip for me. So it's been a number of years since I've been there, and I do want to return. I was really experiencing so much FOMO last summer. I was too busy to travel, and everyone was starting to break out of their cocoons. And I feel that every single friend I had was in Greece. So that looked really enticing, to be honest.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the list is so long. There's just so much that I haven't seen yet. I've traveled all around the world, but there's still a lot that I need to experience.
Do you have a favorite travel companion?
Well, my husband, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd be in trouble if I didn't say that, right? And then secondarily, my Chihuahua Micho. He goes everywhere with me. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to meet him at Market. He's normally there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Well, maybe this spring, if he's there this spring. Will you be there at High Point this year?
I'm not going to be there in spring because I'm too wrapped up. I have a big project that I'm installing in Dallas this summer, and we're really, really busy trying to get that going or finished. But fall, we have something new launching in fall, and so I hope I'll see you in fall.
Yes, that's exciting. So fun.
There's another question. It's not even on our list, but when you're traveling and you're like destined to go to Sicily or wherever you've picked to go, do you usually have like a list of things that you're like, I'm going to research, I'm going to look at this and this and this, and this is the food I'm going to try? I kind of want to know, like, what does that travel agenda look like? Or do you just go and just kind of let the place kind of dictate what you do, your soul guide?
I would say both. I would say, I do research. It's never as in depth as I think it should be, probably because I'm always pressed for time. I'm like cramming for the test on the jet. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And then you land. Part of travel for me is just being an accidental tourist. I don't like the pressure of a schedule when it's a trip like that. Like we go to Salone de Mobile, or we, go to High Point, or we go, to Art Basel, or we go wherever. And there's a really strict agenda, and we probably also like have to meet with clients and do all these things. That's that kind of travel. But if I'm going truly to have a holiday or to just be inspired, I just really throw all that stuff. I do the research, but then I'm like, you know what? Let's just see what happens today. And I love cities and towns that you can just walk in and discover and accidentally find a shop, spend 3 hours in a cafe, because like really, who has time to do that? Not me.
Yeah.
And right. So, and that's the kind of stuff I think as creative people, like we need that. I think we don't allow ourselves that. Like, even if you schedule that kind of time, it's still scheduled. Mm-hmm. So, those are those moments where it's really, really free. And that just pays you back tenfold when you go back to the studio, back to the office, when, you don't even know that you're like a sponge and you're soaking up all of those things and you're being inspired. So, the just kind of going, being free and like seeing what happens and not having an agenda, that's really the best.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that. It's like we get to live the way we never get to live when we're at home. Yeah. Like you're like, I'm going to sleep in an extra hour. I'm going to take a longer shower. I'm going to,
not do laundry. And I'm going to.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, it's so
that.
freeing. I love that.
A really quick word from our sponsor. I love my ultra soft bamboo joggers from Cozy Earth. Look at their joggers. They're so stylish, so flattering and luxurious that you can wear them anywhere. I'm ordering their pajamas and socks next. Want more coziness in your life? Try Cozy Earth. I especially love the soft sweatshirt. I always pull it on when I get home just to warm up. I'm cold all the time. And it's just so great. I'll even put my robe over the top of it. I love the cozy loungewear so much. So for a limited time, you guys can save 35% on Cozy Earth loungewear. Go to cozyearth.com/Dear Alice and enter our special promo code Dear Alice at the checkout and save 35% right now, which is a really great deal. Let's do that actually when we get off this podcast. That's cozyearth.com/Dear Alice. Be sure to enter Dear Alice at checkout for 35% off. All right. Back to Laura.
I know. I'm curious because you do have all these collections, Laura, with all these different brands. And obviously, like the brand probably, I don't know. I'm curious about the process. Do they come to you and just say, we need more of this, and then we want you to head it? Do they give you direction, or do you just like you propose what you think the market needs that represents you and kind of your inspirations?
Yeah, it depends on the brand, really. I would say initially, if I haven't designed a collection for someone yet, and we're talking with each other. I mean, we always start with some sort of design brief, but I think that the assumption is that there's a lot of creative latitude, and a design brief can be, we need 3 tables and 2 dining chairs and a sofa, and so it can be as basic as that. At this point, I haven't had someone come to me and say, do a collection inspired by 17th century France. It's never even been that specific. But I also will say that it's really important to know your brand, and brands are changing a lot. And I just recently proposed a collection to a brand that really felt like what I was proposing to them was like not the right fit, that it was probably a bit too sophisticated for where they are as a company. And, that's okay. Like brands evolve. Mm-hmm. Internally, they now have their own design teams and they might be moving in a different direction. So like the latitude is there, but sometimes you're not necessarily on the same page. Mm-hmm. But I've had a lot of home runs. I have to say, I've been pretty good. So
I agree. I think everything you touch is gold. Honestly.
Well, you're too kind. Thank you so much.
I mean, like everything we see obviously has made it to market. So we haven't seen anything on the cutting room floor, but it really is like so special and stands out in a crowd of things that you've seen or are similar to. And then here's Laura as just like this real beautiful original thinker artist, tastemaker, just really carving your own path, which is really respectful. As for people that are sourcing a lot and we've begun to create our own thing, it's just like such a beautiful thing to be able to see. Yeah. And I'm sure you've never even experienced, a lot of creators have experienced this imposter's syndrome, where they're just like, oh, maybe this is like, or maybe I've been inspired by something, but didn't know it. Or maybe I don't know. I feel like your work is so confident and so unique that you probably don't even have those thoughts pass through your brain.
I don't, but I think it goes back to, and I broad brushed your question about process, and maybe this is where I can drill down a little bit more specifically. I don't look at other work. And when I'm working on a collection, I don't look at other people's work ever. I barely pick up a magazine. I just don't want to be influenced by anything that's out there currently, because if you are, it's over already. I know you're working on product as well, and it looks great. And you guys have such a, I love your site, your shoppable site and all the things. Like, you guys have such a wonderful eye. It's beautiful. But by the time it's on e-com, like, it's old already, it's out there, and a collection can take 2 years to develop, which means the ideas are at least 3 years older than that, So you have to be ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're a lot of companies now, everybody's nervous about making their investors happy and all of these things. So they tend towards vanilla. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of vanilla to choose from out there in all of our sources. There are the sort of easy choices, easily palatable things, but it's not the way to create something that I think is really signature, is really memorable, and certainly not the way to create something that's original. You have to take risks in order to do that. So that's the place I come from. And I'm in a collection, I think there's always places for what I've always called like the little black dress pieces, and then the jewelry pieces. Well, you always have to have foundation pieces in a collection to make it work. But then, the jewelry should be really exciting. It should be really unique, really original and memorable. They're not just the things that the press grab onto, but eventually it's the things that great designers such as yourselves say, let's go for it. Let's do that. That's perfect for that client. They're going to get it. And, so that's my job. That's what I see as my job as a designer, is to push the boundaries, push the limits, and create something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're doing it. It's so great. I love that you talk about these memory points, because even as designers, when we're sourcing, we can't get that thing out of our head that we saw that you made at market. And then we're like, if you feel quickened to it. Like, every time you see something in a project, you're like, that piece Laura made, it would really like push it up over the edge, or just like F it up a little bit to give it that designer feel, because your thought work is just so original, and we need people like you to continue to push the boundaries. I love what you said about not seeing other people's work. I read once, I can't remember where, but they said, you got to keep your head down. You don't look at what other people are doing, and you just got to crush it. Like really confidently go after it, because otherwise we are influenced. And so I've tried to make a point of that, people that are in our space, not to follow them, not because I don't appreciate what they're doing, because what we're doing is really hard, and it's emotional, and it's intimate, and it takes all of you. And it's not a part-time job or even a full-time job. It's just like every percentage of your being is in it at all times. And so it asks a lot of you. And so you don't want your influence to be from other creators in your space. You want your influence to be like from you, your travel or pop culture, or, things that you're seeing that are happening around you. And I think that's such great inspiration.
Yeah, it's true, because we are all seeing the same things. We're all following the same feeds, right? So we're seeing the same imagery, and listening to the same music. And, at least when we were all kind of stuck at home, like even seeing the same art and shows and everything virtually, right? So we are all fed through that. It's something that really struck me when I went to Art Basel Miami this year, and I was so happy to see art in real life, like right in front of me, that I could touch. After a couple of years of like, trying to stay current and inspired and all of it digitally, realizing that like, yeah, but it's entirely different if you're standing before a painting or having this confrontation with a sculpture, or an entirely different experience. And 5 designers could walk into the same room, see the same piece of art in person, and have a completely different read on it. And I think that's the thing that we lose when we're just looking at our phone or looking at our screen, because we're actually taking that information in through the lens of the person who posted it. It's really specific. And so it's a caution, like when we're designing an interior or designing a collection, it's like, yeah, keep your head down, but listen to music, like dance, do yoga, like cook, like, whatever it is that is another creative aspect of your life, like get in your body and out of your head. Definitely get out of like perusing through other people's work. It's been done. Like, you are you. That's your superpower. Like, make it come from inside of you.
Love that.
That's
so great.
Yeah, it's so refreshing to hear all of that. I consider myself an artist in a couple of different ways. One of them being a musician. I play in a band, and it's really fun and creative. And I think what you're talking about literally spans all creative and artistic avenues. I think doing what you do best, and I'd say you as an individual, I think that like raises the tide everywhere, and it brings new designs or new music, whatever that may be, to the consumer base. Therefore, it like expands their understanding and their appreciation. So honestly, I think the world needs more of that. It's so easy to put out content, immediately. And I think just the world needs more revolutions in every avenue. So that's very refreshing that you're saying that. And it's like, just listening to you is so inspiring. So thank you.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Well, thanks.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Switching gears right now. Do you have a favorite era, or are you feeling something right now as far as like
History?
A time that you've experienced before personally, or things that you've seen before through art history?
Gosh. Well, I think aesthetically, like I always gravitate towards like 30s, 40s Art Deco, but not in a really like period or rigid or strict way. And that's a really broad brush, because when I say like Deco, like immediately everybody thinks France, but I'm in Mexico, and there's some really amazing stuff that happened here in that era, in that span of time. And if you're sort of not familiar with like Alberto Pani, Clara Porcet, like you should look that stuff up, because it's really, really interesting, like natural materials, but like incredible chunky proportions. It's just different, and it's exciting and inspiring, and mixes really well, frankly, with some of the more delicate, elegant things coming out of Europe. But I think Mexican design and South American design in that perspective are still really uncharted territory for a lot of people. And I've been making this place my part-time home for the last 10, 15 years. So it's something I'm really passionate about. I really love. I'm trying to get more people to like look into it, be inspired by it, share in it. So yeah, that's where I look to for inspiration.
I love that. Do you have favorite icons in design that you've been like inspired by?
Well,
you threw a few names out earlier, and that's what I thought. It'd be really good for people to learn these names and then research them for themselves. And you have such a beautiful mind. I just thought it would be good for you to share some of that with people so they could do their own research.
Yeah. I've always loved the work of Eileen Gray. Some of her work was inspiration to me when I created the Versteel collection for Callista. More recently, I'm a really big fan of Bunny Williams, who has a very different sense of interior and design than I do. Like, we have different perspectives, but I respect her immensely. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Clara Porcett, and those, her furniture is little known. I think not as known as some, but like really, really interesting. Mm-hmm. So definitely check that out.
It had to be such a discipline for you to work for Holly Hunt, coming from Ralph Lauren.
Oh yeah.
I think she's a name that is really synonymous with great quality, especially for contemporary homes. How was that?
That was really
strict, probably.
No, well, it's I learned a lot from her. I really did. I was quite young, and so again, like a little sponge. And but my first job with her was rescaling the Christian Liège furniture collection for the U.S. market. It was they had just kind of formed their partnership, and all of those incredible drawings, which were done on paper, by the way.
Wow!
So big, full-scale drawings coming from the Paris studio to us, and then me going back into them and redrawing them by hand. Wow. It was those early days were really, really informative, and I really learned about how to make furniture at that time. And and I think Holly was sort of learning how to make furniture at that time as well. I think we would go to the upholstery workroom and sit in things and change the pitch literally like a quarter of an inch and believe, and I do still believe to this day, that it makes a difference, just even that much, you can feel it. So, but she really always had so much style and like a very confident sense of where she wanted that company to go. And and the most exciting thing I think she ever really did was creating Great Plains. It's such a great collection of fabrics, the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
So truly an inspiring place to work and very formative for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
And listeners, if you think you're hearing birds, you are.
Yes, you are.
I want you to know.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
No, it makes me so happy.
Okay, Holly, we're going to ask you the question we ask everybody that comes on the podcast, and it is, how do you define luxury?
I define luxury as having a sense of time and having a sense of place. I think luxury is really being in the now, really being able to enjoy the present and having time to enjoy the things that you're partaking in, that you're participating in, that you've created. If we're all just working and too busy, that's not a very luxurious life, but luxury is really the time to enjoy.
I love that. And you're such a good example of that. I think looking at you working in the studio and having that beautiful view of Mexico and hearing the birds and seeing the sights and having all that color reflect back on your spirit and your mind, it's just such a beautiful thing. You've got such a gorgeous outlook and perspective, and your products show it. Thank you so much for coming on here and spending time with us. And I know this is a great inspiration to all of our listeners as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate talking with you, and that you asked me to do this. Such an honor. And I wish you both so much growth in your podcast.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, and best to you as well.
We'll see you at Hidalgo.
Yes.
Okay.
Promise? Okay.
Yeah. Right. Promise.
Okay. All right. A final word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. If you haven't had Cozy Earth, please order it now. It's life-changing. Their ultra soft, comfy, and stylish loungewear is perfect for me lounging at home, doing high fitness, like stuff with my kids. I'm not working out in high fitness, but I am going up and down. And anyone with children knows that it's beautiful for that environment, but it's also beautiful if I have friends come over or I'm going out. I never want to change my clothes. Don't believe me? Check out their thousands of 5-star reviews at CozyEarth.com. And for a limited time, you can save 35% on Cozy Earth loungewear. Go to CozyEarth.com/Dear Alice and enter our special promo code Dear Alice at checkout to save 35% now. That's CozyEarth.com/Dear Alice. And be sure to enter Dear Alice at checkout for 35% off. You'll thank us.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks again, Laura. And we will see you in Hidalgo, or we will see you in Fall Market 2022. You're the best.
Okay, take care.
You too. Looking forward to it.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like our show, please leave a 5-star rating.